call this meeting of the Monticello City Council to order. Please rise and join with me as I recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Stay standing as Gary Dusenberry from Monticello Christian leads us in prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, if this last season has taught us anything, is that we are not in control. We are so thankful that you are. And so it's in that spirit tonight that we pray for your peace and your wisdom and for a spirit of humility to be present with these servant leaders as they deliberate on how to make this community better for the citizens therein. We love you. Thank you for Jesus' name.
Amen. Roll call, please.
Mr. Frere,
Here.
Ms. Stevens. Here. Ms. Harlan. Here. Mr. Reed.
Here.
Ms. Boat. Here. Mr. Brock.
Here.
Mr. Burris.
Here.
Mr. Coon.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Public participation. Anyone signed up, John? We have no one in-house. This is an opportunity for the public to provide public comment to the presiding officer. The public comments must comply with ordinance 2014-02 and be limited to 5 minutes or less. At this time, members of the public are able to attend public meetings by web conference, to submit public comment by email, voicemail, or through web conference. Anyone, Kelly?
Mr. Stratford indicated he would like to speak. It was after the gavel hit at 7 o'clock, so I'll leave that up to you if you would like to.
Mr. Schreffler, you're going to have to start reporting on time or you're not going to be honored with speaking. Go ahead.
According to the timestamp, it was 7 p.m. when I did that. So anyway, I will try to be more punctual. I was on a very important phone call. Just a couple brief things. First of all, I see, and I'm sure Wendy's probably going to address this too. I see track 8 cost another $11,423 on these claims. Now, I was under the understanding that that bleeding had stopped by now, but apparently not. The other issue that I wanted to bring up was the discussion on, I guess it would be called yard waste and so forth. It indicated that this new addendum to the ordinance was going to make it illegal for people to put their yard waste and other debris, branches, whatever, on the public way. So what that means is they'll have to keep it up in their yard on their own property. And so you're going to take your end loader and drive up into people's lawns to get to that. In other words, they can't put it out on the boulevard anymore because that's public way.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably an oversight. I don't think that's really what you're looking to do. But that is the way it was stated. I'll be happy to answer any questions as to what it was I just said.
Any questions? Thanks, Steve.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Moving on, consent agenda. Approval of documents and action items is listed. Claims report, claims dated March 23, 2021 through April 12, 2021. Meeting minutes, city council meeting minutes, March 22nd, 2021. Permit report, March 2021. Fire report, March 2021. Police report, March 2021. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions?
I just had one observation on the police report. The vacation checks this year, this period, were 110 versus 23 last year for this month. It seems like they're just making an observation. I don't know if that's a question necessarily. I
say there's just more people that have gone places this year than last year too.
and we're not even at summer.
COVID kept a lot of people in.
Okay.
Anyone else? Hearing or seeing none, Jill, I need a roll call.
Mr. Frerichs,
Yes.
Ms. Stevens,
Yes.
Ms. Harlan,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Ms. Boat,
Yes.
Mr. Brock,
Yes.
Mr. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Coon,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to the mayor's report. There are 58 businesses in Monticello, DeLand, Whiteheath, Ivesdale, and Bement that are actively hiring to fill over 120 full and part-time positions at all levels, trades, and experience. View the local job board on the city's website for a listing, or visit the Piatt County Workforce Development Office for workforce assistance. The biggest news of the year. Froyo is reopening for the season on Saturday, April the 17th. I'll repeat. Froyo is opening for the season on Saturday, April 17th. Also this weekend, story time at Bryant Cottage State Park, throttle time at the Monticello Railway Museum, and the third Saturday garden tours at Allerton Park. It's good to see things happening again. Moving on to, there's no old business, new business. Resolution 2021-15, resolution for maintenance under the Illinois Highway Code. Mr. Summers?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution 2021-15 is for our annual oil and chip seal coat operations, utilizing the local fuel tax funds. You'll notice that this year is significantly higher than prior years and for $375,000. Most of that is for the cold mix paving operation of County Farm Road and Fissler Road. So that'll get the cold mix patch full width, and then we'll come back sometime after that and put the seal coat on top of it. So be a couple different operations going on at the same different times. It is recommended City Council discuss and vote on this as a resolution 2021-15 as submitted, and it's in the form required by IDOT, and I believe our capital improvement project manager, Brett Baker, is joining us remotely. In case you have a question that I can't answer, he's more than capable of answering anything.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Let's have a vote, please.
Motion?
Oh, we need a motion? I thought I already did that. Sorry. Need a motion, please?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? I'll ask once more. Now that I'm back in stride, roll call, please.
I'll do it. Mr. Frerichs,
Yes.
Ms. Stevens,
Yes.
Ms. Harlan,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Ms. Vogt,
Yes.
Mr. Brock,
Yes.
Mr. Burris,
Yes.
Mr. Coon.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Moving on to ordinance 2021-16, an ordinance regarding nuisance, greenery, and public way obstruction. Harry?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ordinance 2021-16 involves the amending of Chapter 93 of the municipal code. Last year, City Council directed staff, law enforcement, to revise pieces of that section in Chapter 93, and particularly was the height, maximum height of grass and other vegetation used was 12 inches before the abatement process could occur. That's been reduced at the direction of City Council to 8 inches. And there was some clarity provided on depositing debris such as grass clippings and snow in the public right of way. And then we also addressed the fines. The first offense is a little bit higher fine, and then it's a stepped fine structure that's clearly identified in the ordinance now. I'd like to go through some of the key elements of the ordinance. And again, it's amending the existing code. So there are pieces in this ordinance that are not present because the existing code isn't being revised. So this is just for revisions only. Before I get too in-depth into it, I would like to thank Chief Carter and Lieutenant Jones and the rest of the Monticello Police Department, our city attorney, for drafting this ordinance. There was a lot of time and effort went into it, and I think we have a pretty good ordinance in front of you folks to vote on tonight, if you so choose to waive second reading. I'm going to skip to page 3, and you'll notice that the bold and underlined are added, and bold and struck through are deletions. So on page 3, the nuisance greenery now it is identified and it's defined later on page 5, but it includes most, if not all, of the GH and I vegetation type definitions underneath the nuisance greenery. So on page 5, it's a pretty in-depth definition of nuisance greenery now. And then page 6, you'll see the fine for each offense in C was $100 for each offense. It is now structured in that schedule below that offenses 1 to 7 is a minimum fine of $150. A maximum fine of $750. Offenses 8 to 14 is a minimum fine of $300 and a maximum fine of $750. 15 or more offenses, the minimum fine of $500 and maximum fine of $750. Section 94.008 is still on page 6. A is where we get into a lot of the clarity items, if you will. Skip to number A2. Deposit grass, leaves, yard waste, or snow in a manner causing or creating obstruction on any street, alley, sidewalk, curb gutter, drainage ditch, driveway, parkway, or other public way. Moving on to page 7, the top of page number 3. Obstruct any drain or drainage in any street, alley, curb gutter, drainage ditch, or drainage easement. Number 4, plow or otherwise remove accumulated snow from private property and deposit the same on the street and right of way. Or number 5, break, blow, or otherwise deposit grass, leaves, or yard waste from private property onto a city street or right of way. The individual that spoke earlier, I think this section was read, but B, temporary deposit of leaves, brush, or yard waste in a drainage ditch for scheduled curbside pickup is not a violation of this section, provided that the deposit does not interfere with normal operations of the drainage ditch. That covers our curbside pickup routine for the residents. It is recommended City Council discuss and approve ordinance 2021-16 as submitted, and take your questions. Chief Carter is well versed in this ordinance as well, so that's all I have.
Any comments, questions?
Got a couple. One, when it says you deposit grass, there are, I mean, it's, and this is, I know this is a bone of contention for people, some people in town. There are things that are just, we're not blowing all our grass out of the street, but sometimes grass just from your mower does wind up on the street. Just how sensitive are they to what that looks like?
It's going to depend on the grass situation, because it's actually a state law that you can't blow grass into the roadway.
Right.
Because motorcycle riders and stuff can't tow their vehicle with the grass and stuff on the roadway. So, I mean, if it's a deliberate thing, that's going to be a fine. If it's something that just actually, it's like just a little bit blows out there, it's not going to be a thing. But if it gets to 12 inches and you're mowing into the road, there's a problem.
Right.
Anything else, Mike?
So my second question is just in terms of enforcement, when you go through, and notifying the offender and how long they have to take care of it and that sort of thing. Because one of the things that happened last year is that we had repeat offenders, and so they still have to go through. And this particular neighbor, it was a vacant house who was in question. Once they are notified, they take care of it, but it seems like there's a long process to get them to that point.
The abatement process.
Yeah.
The abatement process, as it states in here, is 2 to 10 days. So on the 11th day is when we would actually issue the tickets if it wasn't taken care of. Now we go 2 to 10. First time, we're going to give them more time to do it. Second time, you're going to have less time to abate. The minimum that we can give them is 2 days.
Okay.
But we can keep the file open so we don't have to keep going 11 days every time.
Okay. That's good.
Also, it says in C that each day a violation is allowed to exist shall be seen as separate
Right.
sort of compounds.
Yeah, but in the case that I'm talking about, the offender took care of it once they were notified. It's just that that abatement process seemed, they were questioning, they got to go through that again. Thank you for the clarification on that.
That's a good point, Alderman Burrs. Fine can occur day 3, and it can be up to $750.
I know of one, for sure, of one resident in my ward that has for some time piled their sticks to be picked up in the grassy area between the curb and the sidewalk. There's an area there it's a corner that I go by every day, and that pile, I mean, it's an older lady, and that's where she's piled them for a long, long time. So are we going to have to address that, or is that?
She's doing it for scheduled pickup. It's not necessarily on that date, but she's not throwing them in the gutter to block drainage.
No, she's not blocking drainage or anything, but it's just always been, that area is technically, I guess, would be what we're talking about, but she doesn't affect the flow of water or anything. It's not that. Okay, fine enough. I just didn't want to go knocking on her door, but good. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
On like the first Tuesday of the month, that's all year, right? Like,
For the most part.
like how soon can people put their stuff out there? Like Wednesday after the Tuesday and it stays there, you know what I'm saying? Like there's no, like, can it just be the week before? Do you know, is it?
I'll say, it doesn't specifically address it.
I know. And sometimes it's like, it seems to me that they just keep it out there all the time. Like it gets picked up and then they just start piling their stuff. They bag, huh?
The landfill is open? Because
Oh, yeah, because they don't use the landfill. They just keep their bags
keep it there.
and they'll just start putting it out there and then like, so, but there's not any kind of, they can have it out there as long as they want.
Yeah, I mean, we've got discretion.
Okay.
We understand that part of it.
I know.
If
And some of them are elderly, so.
nuisance or it's a site nuisance issue, then I think it's probably set.
Okay,
That'll fall under a different
yeah.
ordinance.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm just more educate me a little bit, but because I always feel like there's repeat offenders because I see it all the time but the people who blow their grass purposely into the roads and all of their leaves and everything else. So how how do you go about patrolling that or whatever you want to call it? Or, you know, you may have someone, you hire somebody to come and do your lawn and they're blowing all the clippings out into the road. How do you guys,
If you hire somebody, it falls to the owner or renter of the property that's
okay,
happening.
that's what I figure, it goes back to the property owner.
I mean, if we get by and we don't see who did it, we know where it came from because it's the only yard with house,
Okay,
leaves in it, whatever. So it goes to the owner. If we catch the individual that's like the contractor that they contracted to, we can cite them. And just so you know, those do not require the abatement process. The leaves and grass in the road, we don't say, oh, you got 11 days to clean it up, because they'd blow away by then. It's a now thing.
okay,
We can cite them as it happens. And it's either somebody calls in and complains about it, or we drive by and we see it.
that's what I wondered, that was my next question. Okay.
Anyone else?
Okay, this is weird. I just had a vision of calling in. Are we calling the 911 number for grass in the roadway?
Where's Steve when I need you?
We need that in the paper. Don't-
Yeah, don't call 911.
It would be the non-emergency. There's several numbers. The same old number, 2121-762-2121, still rings through to dispatch. 5761 is also a number that goes to dispatch, but use the non-emergency numbers. Don't mind. It's not
Excellent.
that big of an emergency.
Right.
Does that make the paper? That doesn't make the paper. Dang it.
Anyone else? You ask good questions, Randy.
Every so often I have.
Yeah, I know.
It's awesome.
I'm impressed.
And I could see somebody calling 911.
Yes, you're right.
I sit in dispatch for half an hour.
I know.
Yeah. And so the fines are 150 first offense?
That's the minimum.
The minimum.
Okay.
If you're a repeat offender, it's not.
Man, I better get with it.
50. Anyone else? Is there a motion to waive second reading?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Vote, please.
Mr. Frerichs,
Yes.
Ms. Stevens,
Yes,
Ms. Harlan,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Ms. Boat,
Yes.
Mr. Brock,
Yes.
Mr. Burris,
Yes.
Mr. Coon,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve ordinance 2021 and ordinance regarding nuisance greenery and public way obstructions?
so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing or seeing none, I need a roll call, please.
Mr. Frerichs,
Yes.
Ms. Stevens,
Yes,
Ms. Harlan,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Ms. Boat,
Yes.
Mr. Brock,
Yes.
Mr. Burris,
Yes.
and Mr. Coon.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Veterans Park, ideas for a new park in Monticello, discussion only. And it looks like it's an audio visual show, so I think we have to move, Jill.
Yeah.
You're. Black.
Have to, it might hurt your eyes.
This worked this afternoon, but no promises.
I'm just seeing.
Yes, I can.
Can you turn the lights off?
Was it present, Callie?
There you go.
That was good. That helped, yeah.
So, I wanted to take tonight for an opportunity to talk about a possible new park here in Monticello. And it's, we're referring to it as a generic veterans park right now. And I provided this to you when the packets went out, but this is a vacant green space with some trees on the south side. It's just east of State Bank of B Mint Monticello branch along Market Street, Route 105 as you head north out of town towards the interstate or Walden Pond or Kirkwood Medical Center. And then right before you get to Iron Horse Place, where the North Circle K and Red Wheel and Best Western are located. The city council accepted this property of 5.7 acres as a donated property in 2004. Since then, the city has not had a lot of interest in somebody developing this. We've had some, but not a lot over the years. And again, this was back in 2004. And I'll get to another slide a little bit later that although it's 5.7 acres, the south half, as it exists today, is undevelopable. So that leaves the north half roughly. It's fairly flat, but it's not very deep in the north-south direction. It's pretty wide in the east-west direction, but there's not a lot of space from the right-of-way of Market Street till you get to that tree line, and there's a top of bank that shows up in a later slide, and it's almost a straight drop off of 30 or 35 feet from the ground level in that green space down to the bottom of that hole. So we'll get to a slide a little bit later that shows it's just not very conducive to much development opportunities. Okay. So parks and recreation, I think we can all agree, that's one of the avenues that we can expand and provide quality of life amenities to the residents as well as visitors to our community. And we all understand that we've got existing parks. And I've got some of them up here. Obviously, the 30-acre outdoor multi-use recreation site over here to the right corner. Robert C. Burke Park, it's home of the Monticello Family Aquatic Center, obviously. Robert Milligan Memorial Dog Park in that upper right corner, I guess. I'm sorry, the left corner is the 30 acre rec site. Rotary Centennial Park, the Salmon River Bridge Trail, and East Prairie Bicycle and Walking Path. Each of these provides various quality of life amenities and serves different purposes. But that's, I think the bike and hike trails is a little over 2 miles. I think the east side's about 1 mile one way, and the river trails 1.2 miles roughly one way. So we do have a lot of amenities and to offer the residents and visitors of the community. This possible park could just be another amenity of a different type, a different scale than what we currently have. Callie, anything to add to that yet? She'll be adding things later. I can guarantee. I appreciate that. And I apologize, but when you put the PowerPoint in here, that sign rotates, and it's not supposed to be rotated. So that in the upper right corner is a picture of the existing active duty sign out by the varsity football field on northbound Route 105. It's very difficult, not only here rotated, but it's difficult to see and read that sign, the names, and to honor them appropriately when you're driving into town at 45 miles an hour, and that's similar at the other 3 entrances to town. And in talking to some of these key stakeholders, I'll mention here briefly, but unbeknownst to me, that there's about 15 active duty personnel on each one of those signs. So there's roughly, at any given point, 60 or so active duty personnel defending the freedom that we sometimes take for granted. So I will add, with these key stakeholders, almost shortly after those signs were erected, I think there was a lot of discussion on where to put these signs. I think they were talking about the power poles that you see in some towns. They were talking about the light poles in the downtown area. There really wasn't a one location, one size fits all for that type of signage. But the folks at that time agreed, and the city participates in some maintenance of these signs and so on and so forth, that this is what we're going to do. And conversations have transpired almost after they were erected till recently. Kelly and I met with the active duty sign committee. There's 4 individuals on that committee, and we've had numerous discussions with them. Obviously, we all know that we're doing a master plan for Burke Park. Obviously has some military merit to that. I think the most prestigious and highly decorated soldier that we have from Monticello, so the park's named after. So some of those conversations quickly led to it wasn't a fit in Burke Park. And it was a great conversation, and I appreciated input from those stakeholders, and I won't disagree with them at all. So we also reached out to the post commander for the Veterans of Foreign Wars, Pike County Post 5346. And had a great conversation, as well as with the post commander of the Ham Burke American Legion Post 101. So we've had several meetings, informal meetings. Those post commanders, as well as the active duty sign committee, I think it's fair to say we're very receptive to maybe relocating their signs, these active duty signs, into a central one location, but not so much Burke Park. So again, those conversations were favorably received. Obviously, I asked them to wait to go to those respective organizations and talk, and I present something to the city council. So here we are tonight. So, Callie, anything to add to that?
I think their inputs, the stakeholders that Terry identified, was really valuable and offered a different perspective that I don't think we saw. They all agree those aren't the best signs, but when people drive by, they at least acknowledge that Monticello recognizes their military personnel, which is something. But they also express a desire for, is there an opportunity for us to do something about it? And I think that's where Terry and I are heading on this one.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that was interesting because they said at least everybody knows Monticello recognizes the military. And yeah, that's true. So Veterans Park, we talked, ongoing conversations about the active duty signs. It is a huge element to the possibilities of this park. I don't want that to get lost in maybe another element that has recently come to our attention. And I don't want those to get lost in the vision here. So please bear with me about the active duty sign. So Steve Hoffman wrote an article back in November of last year from an interview with Les Gadbury, one of Les Gadbury's daughters, Gloria Cardone. And I don't know if you read that article, but it was titled Monticello Marine Helped Build Iwo Jima Monument. It was a really well-written article and very educational for me. And I think that I got a text, I know I got a text from Callie shortly after it was published, and with excitement and, hey, what if? And it was after hours or on a weekend or whatever. That's kind of far, of course, how we operate. But it was Les Gadbury was one of the monument men. There were 6 monument men that helped sculptor Felix de Weldon, who was a Navy soldier and an artist. And Felix was tasked to take a two-dimensional, the famous two-dimensional photo of the flag raising at Iwo Jima. And so that was what Felix was tasked to do. Les Gadbury was ordered, along with 5 other Marines. Les was on Iwo Jima. The other Marines, 5 others were on there as well. They had orders to help Felix create this sculpture, this monument. Rodney Hilton Brown, Callie and I had conversations with him. He's actually, he's a biographer of that Felix de Weldon, and wrote a very interesting book on Mr. Weldon, and there's a chapter in there on Les Gadbury, but it's a very interesting read. If you ever get the time, I think it's available at the library. Callie ordered one from Hartfield Bookstore, so very interesting read, to say the least. So, and Rodney Brown was writing about sculptor Weldon. He realized and tried to reach out to these 6 monument men. Les Gadbury was the only one still alive. So Mr. Brown struck up a relationship and positive, dare I say, a friendship with Les Gadbury, sharing stories and so on and so forth, and writes about it in his book here. So that's kind of the tie with the sculptor, our own Les Gadbury and his family, the owner and biographer, the owner of the monument, one of the original monuments created by de Weldon. I think there was 2 or 3 4-foot pieces done, kind of to show those up the military chain, and then there was a 12.5-foot without the flag bronze statue made. That's the one that Rodney Brown currently has, and then there's the one that's sitting obviously at Arlington, and those are the original monuments that are known today. So. Allie, anything missing on those folks?
So what you're saying is we're looking to try to see if we can find a place to have that binding. They're looking for a place for it.
So, yes. In our, good, thank you, Oliver Karen. In our conversations with Mr. Brown, the owner, he had the sculpture or the monument rebuilt. It had fallen in disrepair. He had it rebuilt. It's been shown in New York, a couple museums. Mr. Brown, from what I believe, kind of trailered it around the United States as kind of a moving monument, if you will. And Mr. Brown is right now is sitting in a curator's storage room in a box. And Mr. Brown was very interested in finding a home such as Monticello with that tie to Les Gadberry. He's very excited at that opportunity. So thank you, Mike. I neglected to mention that. I apologize for the scale here, but it's difficult to show all this. I'll try to point if you can find the little dot. This is Iron Horse Place. North is up. But right now, the possible layout would just be a road coming in and kind of meandering through the site, and then a cul-de-sac to go ahead and exit. There's a few rows. I better hurry up. So a few rows of parking. I think right here we've got about 50 parking stalls. This would be, you know, a central central location for maybe that Iwo Jima monument. Walking trail of maybe a half a mile in length around, maybe a small concrete patio cover, shelter area here, extend sidewalk out front, maybe down towards Best Western, Red Wheel, the Circle K, so on and so forth. This line, if I can hold this steady, is roughly the top of Bank. And it's 30 feet down. It's like a crater hit this thing.
Civil War.
Yeah.
It's a great.
So I mentioned the area of possible development, and you know, you have.
Oh, what's that? Oh, wait a minute, what's that?
That's some of the website. Did she say you need to put it down?
He's gonna smack you.
Thanks,
Leave it alone. Needs to get rid of the pointer.
So if you look at the space from the top of Bank line to the right-of-way line of Market Street, and you look at that 26-foot wide pavement, and a 26-foot wide is the width of an aisle in a parking lot is 24 feet. Then you have 90-degree parking on each side. There's really not much room to build. If somebody were to, you know, look at, you know, you think of maybe a strip mall. But the parking lot would occupy the vast majority of the buildable space. So again, there's not been a lot of interest. I can't remember the last time there was any interest, but anything to add or correct? No? Okay.
Would you have to be talking about fencing then all along
Yeah.
that south side then if you got a drop off that far?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I think you have,
Yeah.
so you'd have.
Just ropes that you can pull back up.
Part of the deal, right?
It's Iwo Jima, come on.
It's military.
Come on.
One thing about the landscape, yes, it's almost vertical, it's a pretty steep drop off, it's also pretty thick with trees. I think we want something up there just to designate, they'll go beyond this point, but I don't think we need, you know, the Great Wall of China or something going, make sure nobody goes over it. It is be pretty awesome.
Yeah. So if you, I'm gonna use the pointer again.
Here we go.
Another slide, you know, if you look at this walking path and envision, what we'll show here in a little bit, as far as a wall commemorating the active duty signs. So you'll see this wall and you'll see the backdrop being those trees, and kind of go from there. So this is a couple of quick sketches. It shows like a 5-foot tall, each one of those on the left and the right is a 5-foot brick wall with a column. 6 columns is what it would take to show the 6 branches of the military that are represented by on those active duty signs: the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, and National Guard. So there would be 6 of those columns, and then we could either maybe affix the active duty signs in a frame on the brick wall, or incorporate some sort of a black powder coated railing like you see downtown above the brick wall, and attach the active duty signs to the railing. And keep in mind that those go up and those come down accordingly, and replaced as need be. In the background is a quick sketch of the Iwo Jima monument, and I think that's like on an 8-foot platform stage type thing, but that's kind of the feel of what we were envisioning, thinking. This is obviously, as you're looking, this is a panoramic view, kind of driving, heading out of town towards Kirby Medical Center, and that's that field. And all we do is mow that right now. Apologize for the scale, but that is that same view with a 5-foot wall, brick wall, the 6 columns, and then obviously the centrally located Iwo Jima monument. Again, that is one of the original monuments from sculptor Weldon. There are numerous replica statues and silhouettes and whatnot of that famous Rosenthal photograph. And in the book, Mr. Brown indicates some of those, but Florida, South Carolina, Virginia, Washington, D.C., Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Iowa, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, California, Texas, and Hawaii. None in Illinois. And none of those are an original. So
Let's do it.
Callie, anything else? The stakeholders group, you know, this would be past, present, and future. You know, there's not a Veterans Memorial. It's Veterans Park to represent, like I had said, past, current, and future. And some of the discussions we had with some of those stakeholders, you know, getting, you know, we're going to talk funding. How are we paying for this? You know, you talk about families buying bricks, different things that we set and do it respectfully and tastefully and planned out to do past, present, and future soldiers of America. So, Callie, what do I need to add?
Well, I think the point of Scott bringing this to your attention is, this is not where you start panicking. This is not something we're saying is happening today or tomorrow. But it's something that I think we should all be thinking about. If an opportunity arises, we can go ahead and create the plans. If this is something the council is interested in to design and then figure out as opportunities arise, how we can make it happen. The other point that I want to make is this would be an amazing entrance to our town. And what better way than to honor people that are protecting us? We really don't have anything that's easy to get to. This, not just from a local standpoint, but this offers a great tourism component, especially with Iwo Jima, historical and educational following there. Obviously, we know tourism brings people to sustain our local economy. That's a good thing. But the other thing is, you know, the people that are traveling that maybe would like to stop and walk around. But probably the biggest thing for me is just the amazement and what the impact this would have as an entrance to our downtown. Monticello appreciates, respects, honors their veterans beyond the signs that we have. This could be a very grand way to do that. And I don't mean grand in the sense of lots of dollar signs, so don't take it that way. But, you know, like Terry said, we're not really interested in the site. The city already owns it, so there's no rush there. It's not really developable to a degree, so we're not losing out on that component. So it's just an opportunity that's kind of presented itself, especially with all these other pieces fall into place.
So, thank you, thank you, Callie. And that's important and kind of segues into, as far as the time, you know, we're not asking to amend the appropriation ordinance and buy something right now. We're not asking for that. But to what Callie had mentioned, we've got a correspondence from Rodney Davis, and you guys are all aware of this, dated March 18th of this year, in some federal money that's going to be available for community project funding. There's no indication as far as how much, but these grants, loans, and so on and so forth, a lot of them, not all of them, a lot of them will mention this. There's 4 things that need to be or required. One of them, the project needs to be shovel ready and cannot be spread out over a multi-year project. Oftentimes that's the case, hence the reason the council approved that, in my opinion, the Burke Park Master Plan. We do the planning and some of the preliminary engineering in case something were to arise, a loan, a grant, whether that be at the state or federal level. Obviously, if it's the council's desire for staff to pursue something like this, and it doesn't have to be this, but something like this, you know, we will have conversations with our local state representative and Rodney Davis. So, anything else, Carolyn, right? No, thank you. That's all I have. Mayor Stone.
Any comments or questions?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rod. No, you go. All right, no, I'm 100% positive. I was an Army Reserve guy for years. I've been there, done that. I would like to see if we move forward or whatever, and the Iwo Jima, the monument is a great part of it. If we would put it on a 36 months, let's just say 3 years. But if we would promise the sculptor that we would have a place to display it in 36 months, if we would get a firm commitment of him that it would be ours, because he could give it to anybody. I mean, and I don't, I understand his commitment to, our gentleman here in town, to Les is firm, solid. I think we got the inside track. But if we could go to him and say, look, we're going to move forward with this, we're going to raise some funds and get some things started. but we want a commitment from you that we're going to be the person that winds up with the monument, because we're going to build a place to display it the way it should be displayed. And I like I say, I just say 36 months. I don't know how long it'll take, but it takes a while to build the road and build a walking path and to do those things. But if they're wanting to shovel ready, if the money would come up and they said it's got to be shovel ready, well, so we can start, we can get it started. The platform for the monument may not be there till the last 3 months of the deal, but I'd like to see him give us a commitment that if we make the place for it, if we build it, it will come. And that's my whole point of it.
Yes, Alderman Brock, we would want some commitment. He has indicated that is doable. We have to see this created monument instead of, hey, I got it fixed last year.
Sure.
Yeah, there's if this is something we need to pursue, we want to pursue, there's going to be additional things. And that's definitely one.
But it's a big labor project. There's a lot to building that wall and building the infrastructure that goes with it. The road and the walking path and the parking lot and the whole thing. That's a big deal, but I'd be happier with the whole thing if we had somebody saying, absolutely, if you build it, you're going to get this statue that's where it should be, And I'm good. I'm done.
It's important to mention that you can have the statue would be wonderful.
Right, but it's the addition, it's the icing on the cake. And if, if we're going to do that, why?
Right.
Ron,
And that's, yeah.
No, you didn't. So is there a rough number, dollar amount that we need?
I don't have enough to say right now. I'm kind of looking at the council if this is something
You're just looking for direction.
yeah, we've got a lot of people that are interested, those stakeholders are interested.
Oh, yeah.
I need your support. And that comes in three ways. Written and vocal and financial. And I hope I get all three. I know I'm going to get at least two of those.
Right. Alderman Brock also mentioned 3 years. What's the real time? I mean, is it 3 years that we're looking at that it takes to get this done, or is it?
I don't think 3 years is a far stretch. You look at giving you guys numbers to start construction of the infrastructure. The earliest is FY 2022. Now you're a year out. From now, fundraising and we're going to have to get to a certain point of pledged money. We still have the 501c3 Recreation Foundation. I mean, that's going to be the depository of those funds. I don't, 3 years, 5 years. And again, to Callie's point out, and I can't reiterate that enough. What's this infrastructure cost? And that layout and that plan with the active duty signs plus, the pavers and the respect from those family members that don't have the active duty sign, but they have a piece of this.
Right.
And the end goal, to be honest with you, is to get one of those original monuments is quite an accomplishment. And you've got a diesel fuel gas station walking distance from that. So, and a restaurant and a hotel. So in Allerton Park, it's quite attractive.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I understand the tourism thing and I appreciate that, but just honoring active duty and veterans, that's what we need to, that's the main focus I'm looking at. Tourism's a wonderful byproduct. I mean,
And that's what Kelly's for.
yeah, absolutely.
If we don't get the statue, the monument, okay, but we still have this.
Yes.
And it's something, I think, very respectfully honoring past, present, and future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Without a doubt.
I'm sorry to keep cutting you off.
Mary?
I feel like through your presentation, seeing all of the head nods, you have support. I'll speak for myself, but support to move forward with the planning portion of it, because like you said, if you have the plans made, then when the funding opportunities come along, then you're ready, instead of there being a funding opportunity and then you're scrambling for the plans. So moving forward with the planning, I love the wall with the names of the active duty members. Until you showed the pictures, I couldn't really visualize, but then seeing that with the brick wall, it did remind me of Allerton and the brick walls around Allerton. So just tying together those two ends of our community, getting the monument would be incredible. But if we don't get the monument, this is something I feel like Monticello would support. Years ago, my former life teaching, we always had Veterans Day off of school, and then coming to Monticello, it was a little shock to me that we're in school on Veterans Day. But if you have ever had the opportunity to attend any of the Veterans Day programs that the school does, if you've ever had the chance to go to the Veterans Day parade in the evening, I feel like this community does support our veterans, and it would be wonderful, wonderful to honor them with this area.
Anyone else? I'm sensing that he should proceed. Is that general? Is that all you?
Post haste.
We will proceed. I will keep this council informed as we move forward. Each step of the way. I'll report to you.
Just out of curiosity, what other types of opportunities do we have to develop land out in that interchange?
I mean, there's a vacant lot directly east of this owned.
I can see this would be, if this comes in, it could be an opportunity for other things that might want to.
Yeah, the Circle K, they own that whole side of Iron's Place. They have to own X number of acres to operate. They're operating.
I was just curious.
But there's a lot next door to Best Western on the,
Right.
towards Champaign, I guess, the east side.
Yeah, the Best Western owns 3. They have to own us all for 3.
I thought one was for sale.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a side point. That's, as the wheels begin to turn, if this comes to fruition, are there other ways that we can take advantage of that to kind of further develop that interchange as a destination?
I think your only other opportunity would be Monticello too. On the Kirby ground, they do have a couple of buzz flats.
Right. Yeah.
But other than that, there's not really much other than the 2 lots. That's what's certain.
Anyone else have anything? Okay, thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. I'll have to turn that off so I'm not blind.
Turn too many lights off. I can go nap.
Red light, red.
Harry, you know how to turn this off? Because I don't want Jill to feel like she's a star. Okay, let's move on to older persons' reports. I'll start with Mary.
I just wanted to pass along, I had gotten a question about the parklets, if there might be parklets again with still restricted indoor seating?
The city will be installing those the 26th. So there's a pretty big weekend, that first weekend in May, and we're ready to hit the ground running.
Great, thank you.
Excellent.
Wendell?
I'm going to tag on to Mary, I guess, because that was going to be one of my questions. All I knew we were going to have them back again. I think we should, in some way, try to assist our business that's on the south side of the square with some type of covering, like was outside of Bergie's when Bergie's still existed. Because in the summertime, they are at a huge disadvantage not having the shade that is provided to Three Ravens by the buildings being on the west side of the square. Three Ravens from about 3:30 in the afternoon for the rest of the evening is in the shade. The pub struggles. I know they had umbrellas, but they're not very effective. They're not, they don't cover near as much seating. And I'd like to see their area expanded a tiny bit since nobody's jumped in and done anything with the old drugstore next door. I think we could go a little bit farther east if we wanted to. And if we could just assist them even in some way of getting the white cloth covering to help with shade, I think it would be a huge asset to them throughout the summer. They don't have any other way to do it, you know, and I like to say that the guys on the west side have the advantage of having the buildings there. So if we could look at that in some way, you know, lease it, rent it, whatever, for the few months that they're up there, I think that would be a big help. That's all I have.
Thank you. Rodney?
No, I'm good.
Michael?
Nothing tonight.
Thomas?
Yeah, I was glad to see that they got the burner up and going this past
Oh,
week.
yeah.
I actually had a chance to go out and see it operating, so I think that's going to be a big, big plus.
Did they let you operate it too?
No, I actually did get to take a look into it, but no, not to operate.
All right.
They didn't push you into it.
Didn't push me into it.
Pam?
Is the landfill open?
Yes.
Okay.
It opened today and it's open 9 a.m. to sunset. 9 a.m. to sunset.
Thank you.
And I also, if somebody could look back, I'm sure I have minutes, but I don't know where to start. I want to look at when Sebens went in the ambulance bay, and I want to see what we said about that. Because I'm pretty sure at the meeting, he said he was gonna not, I don't even know if it's Mr. Sebens, it may be the mechanic people, but not make it look like it does. Because we even discussed, you know, like coming into the city.
Across those recently, so I should.
Okay, if you just
Yeah.
send me, I can still have it all, and then I can look. But I just wanted to see what we said about it. Because when he came to the meeting, you know, and we talked about it, when he bought the ambulance bay, he was like, oh no, we're gonna keep it looking really good. And I do not think it looks really good.
He's the tenant.
Pardon?
He's the tenant.
Well, I'm just talking about all the cars. Yeah. Yeah, there was on that business. We did put that we put some restrictions on it, and I'm not really sure that they're,
Basically, it's something wasn't to keep the cars in the back of the building.
and they're way up front, and I don't think I don't think who's ever the business is, I don't think they're doing what they're supposed to out there.
It's kind of an eyesore.
Yes,
I'll get those to you.
it's all. Thank you.
Tammy?
Nothing tonight.
By the way, I want to congratulate all the alder persons on the side for being reelected
Thank you.
in a landslide, each one of them.
Yeah. There you go, guys.
So
Wait, I won?
So, yeah.
I won?
I think so.
It'll be official on the 20th.
Did you vote for yourself, Rodney?
Yes, it is. I should be fine.
The canvassing.
Here, don't, John.
I can't really.
John? Ferris, do you have a report or question?
No, not tonight, Mayor. I'm sorry I couldn't be there.
Well, we're sorry you're not here too. You're the only one. Okay, Chief Carter.
Yes, we started our flag fundraising again for the Trouble the Cops. It's doing well. got 26 responses today, so it's going good. Hopefully it'll pick up and we'll get all the thing we had last year, the fun shoveling out. The next thing is, I don't know if you saw it out here, I drove a different car today. We have acquired a golf cart. The family of William Johnson donated his golf cart to us. It's been in the shop a little bit. Trevor put the light kit on it so that we have all the lights so we can get it out on the street. Steve Kester from SK Fencing put the lettering and the patches on it to make it look the way it is and to put the name of the family on. The name of William Johnson was donated by his family. So we do have that if you want to take a look at it. It's a fun little ride. Gail gets to use it. And now they see her around the square and say, oh,
She wasn't, I watched her drive that today. You might need to check her.
probably should.
Yeah. Is that it?
That's everything.
Chief Rupke?
Mr. Mayor, in March, we ran 39 trains. Yeah, nothing really super interesting, so you mentioned it there. We did some training in March. We did some firehouse maintenance and cleanup, and also did some vehicle and equipment cleanup and maintenance that has to be done every month. We also did CPR and AED training for the American Heart Association. Kirby Ambulance came out and spent 3 hours with us, trained all the firefighters on CPR and AED, which we have to have every year for 2 years. So that is complete. And then on March 26th, also fire department was involved in a tribute to the fallen state trooper that got killed in Bonneville the year before. We took 2 of our vehicles, one on the overpass on Monticello Road. And as they go out by from Champaign to his hometown in Mount Zion, we had kind of lights going on. We did a salute, and they had all the overpasses. We took the fire departments on.
That's cool.
Also, the fire chief asked us and some of the fire departments to kind of line the overpasses as he came home. So
Very nice.
it was a pretty special.
Yeah.
Moment. I'm sure his family and the state police. So we were glad to do that. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you very much, John. City Administrators report, Terry?
Not much tonight. Real quick, planning is another meeting is on the schedule for April 19th. Hopefully,
There'll be a quorum this time.
hopefully they can meet and discuss that property on State Street. And then that will come, their recommendation will be brought to the next city council meeting on the 26th of this month. So that's all I have.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to, I need a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of discussing real estate purchase or lease, 5 Illinois ILCS 120/2 C5. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call. I don't need to. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Thank you. No action when we come out, we'll just adjourn, okay? Thank you.